All right, we're 2 weeks away from the first reaction Monday of the season. First, though, the Texans got to make moves. Nick Caserio, DeMeco Ryans, they got to work the streets. I asked DeMeco Ryans two important questions. Also did what every other person on the internet is doing. I created a 53-man roster, and along the way, kind of got smacked around by one of the most popular reality shows of all time. We'll get into that for a sec. It is the Locker Room. Be sure to swarm the like button, subscribe, right along. The 53-man roster deadline is tomorrow. Dameon Pierce has gotten a lot of attention. We've talked a lot about him. John Mechie played his way onto this team perhaps because he answered DeMeco Ryans' call for him to perform in an actual game. We didn't see that from Dameon Pierce. So does that mean that they've seen enough from him? I asked DeMeco Ryans that very question this morning. Here's what he had to say.
You said early in the preseason that you wanted to see Mechie produce in a game, and he obviously answered the call. Does the fact that Dameon Pierce wasn't out there this weekend, does that mean that y'all have seen enough to make whatever decision y'all need to make in the next day or so?
Yeah, our decisions will be made on the roster, guys, over the next couple of days. And you guys know we still have a lot of things to work through when it comes to the roster. You know, when you talk about those guys specifically, Mechie and Dameon, I think both guys they've done really well in practice settings and also in the game. So both guys I've seen, I know what those guys are about. I know who they are as people. And so, but we'll see you guys to see those decisions here over the next.
All right, there you go. So that's DeMeco talking about the Pierce situation. I'll let you know if I think he makes the 53 in a sec. But another thing that we haven't really talked about is the fullback position. And we see tight ends going into the backfield and blocking. And we haven't seen Andrew Beck in camp. Andrew Beck, when he's on the field, he's okay. He's not bad. He's okay. He made some plays in certain situations. A lot of times there was inconsistency in the blocking. In San Francisco, like Kyle Juszczyk, yeah, if he doesn't play, then you put him out there. But Andrew Beck, the Texans fullback situation, do the Texans really need a fullback? I asked DeMeco that situation. I thought this was an interesting answer from DeMeco.
How important is a fullback in this offense? And do you guys feel like in certain situations you might be able to function as an offense without one by using tight ends and other guys in the backfield?
Oh, great question, Landry. I think with that position, right, called the fullback tight end position, right, I think it's very, very flexible, right, and it's dependent upon, right, who you're facing, right, and the defensive structures that you're facing that particular week, and how does it, how do we gain an advantage by utilizing that position, right, to whether it's to create angles in the running game or to create a mismatch in the passing game as well. So it's all predicated on who you're playing that particular week, and does that position provide an advantage for you. So I think there are times, and there are games certainly when you can utilize that position to your advantage.
All right, there you go. That's DeMeco talking about the fullback position. I don't know that they really do. I don't know that they really do, and I don't know if it's something that you need to keep a 53 or if they can slide through the cracks and you can figure it out. I really don't know how important it is if you don't have a player to the caliber of like a Juszczyk or anything like that. Like, can Cade Stover develop into as good of a blocker as Andrew Beck? And can he do as much out of the backfield? Maybe. Can Brevin Jordan? Maybe. I think there's times where regardless, we're going to see those guys being called upon to handle that duty. But let's get into the 53-man roster. I did mine earlier today. Jersey Shore kind of put a little bit of a speed bump in the process. I'll tell you about that before we get out of here. But first, let's get to this 53-man roster. And we'll start with the quarterback position. We know Case Keenum. He's very popular around here. Won a big game for him last year, but do they really need Case Keenum? Here's how many quarterbacks I kept. I kept 2, and Case Keenum was not one of them. So we're going with C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills. Maybe one of these guys, the other guys, Boyle or Keenum, ends up on the practice squad. Who knows? I don't think people are dying to bring in Case Keenum. So we're keeping just 2 quarterbacks. Running backs, we're keeping 4. We're keeping Mixon. We're keeping Akers. We're keeping Dare. And we're keeping Dameon Pierce. So Dameon Pierce is hanging around. How long will that be? I anticipate their work in the streets, but we're going to keep 4 running backs. Fullbacks, we're keeping 1. Don't know that they need to, but Andrew Beck is hanging around and he's going to be the fullback like he was last year. Wide receiver, this is a polarizing one. Do you keep Robert Woods? Is Noah Brown going to be healthy, or are you keeping Hutch and Matt Steven Sims in the return game? We're keeping Diggs, Collins, Dell, no duh. Noah Brown, you're hanging around. And then we're keeping Mechie and Hutch. So we're keeping 6 receivers, which means bye-bye Robert Woods and bye-bye Steven Sims. Sorry. Tight end, easiest decision of the day. Schultz, Jordan, Stover. Into discussion. Offensive line, we're keeping 10. We're keeping Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard. Those are your starting tackles. We're keeping Scruggs at center. Kenyon Green and Shaq Mason at guard. Kendrick Green at guard. Jared Patterson, center/guard. Broker can play both tackles. Cam Irving, he could end up on the streets quickly, but he's played every single offensive line position, so you keep him around. And obviously Blake Fisher hangs around. Defensive ends, we're keeping 5. We're keeping Will Anderson. We're keeping Daniil Hunter. We're keeping Barnett. And then Hughes and Gay. Ali Gay has looked good. He looks like a developmental guy. I also think he can play some special teams for you. So we're keeping him around. Obviously, DeMeco Autry is suspended. D-line, we're keeping Fatukasi, Edwards, Davis, and Heinisch, and we're also working the streets. You got to find some stuff. Kurt Heinisch is hanging around in large part because there's a lack of depth. Also, you got to think that the suspension also helps him out a little bit, at least for 6 weeks. Linebackers, we're keeping 5. Christian Harris, Aziz Al-Shair, Henry To'oTo'o, Hanson, and Hewitt. I'm not predicting IR. Once they go on IR, we can adjust accordingly. I'm just putting out the best 53, and then we'll see what happens. There is a chance Christian Harris starts out on IR. Hopefully not, though. Safety, we're keeping Ward. We're keeping Petrie. We're keeping Murray. We're keeping Bullock. And we're keeping MJ Stewart. So we're keeping 5 safeties. Corners, we're keeping 5. We're also going back to them streets. We got to get out to the streets, Caserio and DeMeco, and keep your head on a swivel for a corner. Actually got rid of Des King. Didn't feel great about it. Maybe Jalen Petrie allows you to do that. But Stingley and Lasker, you feel good. Okuda looked okay early on, but now he's hurt. CJ Henderson could be CB3. And then Miles Bryant, he hangs around. And who knows, maybe there's someone that Frank Ross likes a little bit more on special teams that he puts in there instead. And then special teams, we got Fairbairn, Townsend, and Weeks. So that's my 53. Where did I make a mistake? The first one, I kind of overlooked Blake Fisher by accident, but that's the official 53 for me. It could go a number of ways. Guys that were on the bubble, Keenum, Sims, and Woods, you got to consider those guys accordingly. But that's my 53-man roster. And again, the deadline tomorrow for that to happen. Got to confess something before I get out of here. Watch this. These are my confessions. Jersey Shore got me. So in my live stream during the 53-man roster, I played a clip from Jersey Shore. Probably not a smart thing to do because you're not allowed to do that. Usually they just, if you do something from ESPN, you say, okay, I'm not really going to try to profit off of this. It's all good. We'll figure it out. But they just leave it on there, but then they just go about their business and you just can't profit off of it. Well, Jersey Shore, not the case. They completely blocked the video. So I had to edit that out. You can check out that live stream from earlier today. It was fun. But this is my 53-man roster. Where did I go wrong? Let me know. I anticipate that a lot of these guys that are on the bubble are going to be replaced with upgrades as DeMeco and Caserio work them streets. Subscribe to the video, like, ride along. Always remember, 2 weeks away from the first Reaction Monday of the year. Got something very special in store for you once that pops. Also, post-game shows throughout, live videos throughout the day, after practice, 10:30 night stream. We got a lot going on. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's